Hey, what's going on, everyone? Happy Thirsty Thursday. Hope you guys are all doing well. Brian Stripper here, and just want to start the video by saying thank you to everyone for all the support on YouTube. It's been cool to see the channel kind of do pretty well here lately. So appreciate all the new subscribers and everything that's to the channel, and thank you everyone that has checked out some of the videos here. Want to make a video here and discuss some of the current topics here, obviously, and discuss something that I kind of brought up in a previous video here, but now that you're kind of seeing everything come to a head with it, one of the things that I have discussed in the past was balancing the boats. And obviously, we're having currently the Colombo get nerfed, and we're having the Valparaiso get nerfed. Obviously, the Colombo has been a something that the community has been discussing that has needed a nerf for a very, very long time. Having those 30k salvos at range consistently has been a bit of a not ideal. How that boat made it through, again, testing kind of is bonkers, as well as the Valparaiso. I have said for a while the Valparaiso would have been fine with two less heals. So you're seeing the Valparaiso get nerfed. I think they're taking away like 300 HP per heal, as well as the amount of Citadel damage, which also means it's going to be that it can heal back, which also will work the same way for torpedo hits, which is going to make the Colombo a lot more vulnerable. It's still going to be a good boat, though. So whatever, it was going to be fine without it. Um, as well as, the Colombo is going to have its dispersion work out a lot similar to how the Russian battleships currently are in the game. And the reason why I'm going to talk, and I'm going to talk about the Kronstadt and potentially play that, um, is due to the fact that, the Kronstadt, as well as a couple other boats in the game, Hindenburg, Montana, uh, other boats like that have been, even Des Moines, I've been playing a lot recently, um, have been balanced for a while. But I want to talk about the Kronstadt in particular, and I want to Kronstadt and Stalingrad, but I'm going to talk about the Kronstadt because I think that Tier 9 has kind of been a bit lackluster lately with the addition of super ships, but the Kronstadt still kind of holds up as a Tier 9 that is playable but for a few different reasons. But talking about some of the balancing aspects, because I actually was a tester at the time when the Kronstadt and Stalingrad were coming out. Um, for both of these boats, you had multiple different iterations of the Kronstadt and Stalingrad, and they were tested for quite a duration. Um, if anyone remembers back in the day, you had Stalingrads that were dev striking, Yamatos at range, which was pretty wild, and similar to like the way that the first iteration of the Kronstadt came out. It was really, really, really broken, and then they came out with a version that was probably not even good enough for Tier 7, and then winded up somewhere in the middle. I think the Stalingrad had like 4 or 5 different iterations, and the Kronstadt I believe had 3. Um, but yeah, why I want to talk about that is because there was actually time and effort and thought put into making the boat itself balanced. And there's a difference making the boat itself balanced. And if we look, it's kind of stood the test of time. As opposed to now, where we're at with some of the new ships, it's not necessarily the boat itself that we're trying to test, it's rather a gimmick. And the Kronstadt doesn't really have any gimmicks minus its radar. Yeah, it's one of the first battle cruisers you had around the time of the Alaska and stuff like that. But it not necessarily like gimmicky in regards to, you know, I mean, minus the fact that at the time the wargaming was owned by a different entity, so Russian bias might have been a slight thing in regards to how some of the armor performs from time to time. Um, but if we're looking at some of the stuff that's obviously being tested lately, or even if we talk about how the Colombo's SAP works with the leg mod and stuff like that, and the smoke and yada yada, we're very gimmicky for a battleship. Talking about the Valparaiso that's now being nerfed. that heal, the secondaries, the maneuverability, the captain abilities, and stuff like that. Very gimmicky. And now you're having to take away some of those gimmicks that is potentially going to upset people that spent hard-earned money um, around Christmas time to try to get the Valparaiso, right? If we even look at it like the submarine that's currently in testing. Submarine, it's got what? A smoke, a heal, a reload booster. It's got a funny button. Uh, 4 gimmicks right off the top from a sub, yet alone the fact that it gets 2 different types of torpedoes and then everything else that a sub gets. All gimmicks. Submarines that drop planes now. Gimmicks. What I think, and just as someone who's played a fair amount of games, um, they need to get away from testing gimmicks and working on ships themselves. Because with testing something from a holistic standpoint, it'll last the test of time, and you potentially aren't going to be upsetting people as often. So throwing that out there, need to get back to testing ships from a holistic standpoint and not testing and coming up with another gimmick. The game doesn't need any more gimmicks. Wargaming. We don't need any more gimmicks. There are too many gimmicks in the game. Get back to testing the ships and making the ships themselves unique and interesting as opposed to a gimmick. Kronstadt is a great example of that. And I'm going to talk about, obviously with the addition of super ships, Tier 9 and Tier 7 have, in my opinion, were tiers that used to get played a fair amount that were fun to play. Tier 7, I feel like, is obviously one of those tiers where you can't have it be too broken from a standpoint because it could see Tier 5s, which is really going to hinder what stuff can do. I think that for at least some of the premiums that come out in the future in Tier 7, they could do something like similar to World of Tanks, put a tier limit on those boats where, say you have a Tier 7, it can't see Tier 5s. Similar to how Wargaming back in the day with the Type 59. At one point when there was technically a 3-tier spread in World of Tanks, Type 59 at Tier 8 could see Tier 5s, which was bonkers. But anywho, they need to maybe consider, because obviously they own World of Tanks too, so they can learn from that, to make Tier 7 a little bit more robust, because that tier's been dying a bit. Maybe with some of the premiums moving forward, put a tier limit on those premiums so that they only see 6s and 7s, but so that they're still interesting at that tier. Something to consider. But yeah, Tier 9's definitely been hindered with the addition of Tier 11, which is what it is. That's fine. But however, I feel like the Kronstadt's one of those boats that potentially holds up still. And it's not gimmicky, and it has been balanced by the ship, not by a gimmick. Let's talk about some of the pros and the cons of the Kronstadt. It is a cruiser, but it is one of the first quote-unquote battle cruisers in the game. It gets 305mm guns, very, very nice guns, basically point-and-click guns with the velocity on the AP being 900 meters per second, and the HE at 920. So very, very nice in regards to that. The downfall here is that it gets battleship dispersion on these 305s. However, being that it's a cruiser, there are aspects and things that you can do to get that dispersion a little bit better. And we'll talk about that as well. The other downfall here is that, being that it's a battle cruiser, it does have battleship fire duration. So not necessarily ideal for a cruiser, but we want to look at perks, or rather modules, that are going to, help out the fire, or decrease the fire chance, or get your repair up quicker. I do run aiming system on here to try to make that dispersion a little bit better. Talking as well, could take damage control systems mod 2 on here. I do have propulsion mod on here. The reason for that, it's a bit of a dog without it. It's not necessarily the most the acceleration, the gusto in the engine isn't as good without it, and to be competitive, yet alone help out, your DDs or kite out a flank, kind of need that perk there. Obviously, then as well, we're running concealment. This is kind of a flop here. You could, obviously, you're going to get 21-kilometer range without it, so you could make do with main battery modification 3 on here to get the reload down. However, I'm taking mod 2. Reason for that is um, with how the armor layout works on this boat and stuff like that, it can do fairly well from kiting, but there is something you have to keep into consideration with that. I'll talk about that in a moment. Um, then here as well, this does have the chance to get a spotter plane on it. I wouldn't recommend doing that. When looking at the armor here as well, obviously front plate 25, so overmatch is a thing. However, if we go down here to the Citadel, does get a waterline Citadel, so as long as you're not going uber broadside, that's fine. Kind of a funky Citadel here then with this armor thickness. You can't really cheek it like you could other boats, so you can't really get the cheek due to the 230 there. However, you can top down from the deck. That 15 at the front and the aft is kind of not ideal. Mains at the moment are really, really good at getting rear citadels, but when you're kiting up, but as long as you kind of stay angled, in a manner where you're not exposing too much of that, and you can say something shooting at you at range, you can then flip it around like that, so it's not going to hit that rear portion. You tend to be okay. Let's talk about some of the skills I take here on the Kronstadt. I am taking Grease the Gears here. The turret traverse, being that it's 305s, is pretty dog. I wouldn't recommend it. I am also taking Gunfeeder on here. This serves two purposes. It's going to be a boat where I would recommend shooting almost exclusively AP in it with those 305s. However, due to the fact that it has access to a 12-kilometer radar, and if you know that there's a DD or something like that nearby, hit that Gunfeeder, switch to HE. It's going to be very, very nice. Or potentially, if something goes dark on the map and now all that you have to shoot at is a bow in Yamato and you want to switch to HE, you can do that. I would also recommend taking consumables enhancement here as well. I'm also taking Superintendent. This is one of the few boats as well where I'm running super heavy AP shells. Brings up that AP that I've been talking about to, battleship-esque alpha levels. Obviously, Adrenaline Rush, Concealment Expert, and I am bringing Outnumbered on here. So this is a very, very nice skill and perk to have here with a boat that already potentially has kind of bad dispersion. This did just get a buff a few months ago to having that while this perk is enacted, that dispersion is increased then by 10%. There is a caveat where you could, on a potential build here, take top grade gunner as well. If you were to take top grade gunner, I would probably recommend getting rid of Superintendent and then getting rid of Gunfeeder. However, I mentioned why I'm bringing Gunfeeder on here. The reason why I'm bringing Superintendent as well, kind of twofold. Having an extra def AA is always going to be nice, especially late game, and having an extra radar, especially with the inclusion of submarines into the game now, as well as to kind of, at least on the NA server, how Shimakaze players tend to play, having that extra radar late game tends to be fairly nice. So that's kind of my build and my breakdown on the Kronstadt. Let's get into a game here live on YouTube for you guys so I can show it off a bit here. And just go right into this game. Hopefully this goes well. Lots of submarines in queue early day. That's kind of not ideal. Nobody wants to see that. But yeah, Kronstadt, it's a ship that I feel still kind of holds up in 2026. I know it's not everyone's favorite, but I think that it's just balanced. And I think that's where we need to get back to with this game, is just making balanced boats right off the rip so that we don't have to worry about uber nerfs and you know, frustrating the community, right? All right, let's look at what we got here. Fairly nice MM for us. Enemy team, looking at the DDs right away, got an Orange, a Jaeger, and a Benson, and then kind of a mix. So the other nice thing too, this can see, you know, tier 7s from time to time, which is pretty sweet. I think I'm going to help out the Lion and the Nizen out here, potentially the Psalm too. Get a sip of my coffee here. Got that AP loaded. And let's get into it. Let's see what we can do here. Got a Bloody Vlastock with me. So yeah, moving towards things in the Kronstadt with kind of showing you how the armor was laid out. This is about the angle that you want to be. And mentioning before, the reason for angling similar to this is so I can switch around my rear and potentially try to save myself from that 15mm citadel on the front and the rear there. So that's kind of why you stay at an angle like this. And the other reason why too, there's that 230mm plating here, nothing's going to be able to really cheek that at range, as long as you kind of stay angled like this. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to try to see if I can get into a position to potentially radar something here, as well as if something gets spotted here by this Somme or this L'Aventure, maybe help them out as well. There's probably going to be something that goes out wide here, and then something that's going to push in for Charlie here. As well as if I get a chance to help out Gorilla Did Good in the Somme, I'm going to try to help him out if I can as well. I am spotted here, so that could be something towards Bravo. And with 12-7 concealment, I know I just need to get a little bit closer, and I should be able to radar it. And there's the Orange, so at least my Somme knows where that's at. And potentially other members of my team. You see Mahari shooting me, get a nice chunk into the Somme there. Or not the Orange, but now I'm kind of angled to the Yamahari, might need some damage, but nothing too crazy. My radar is probably going to go down before I get a chance to come around on Mr. Orange. Well, maybe not. It's kind of right about there. I'll just eat that blind. Didn't get it. Yamahari's going to hurt me here, because now I'm kind of angled improperly. And it looks like our Soul might end up eating Peds there. We're okay there. There is something shooting from behind this island. And we got Peds here from the Jaeger. So I need to get away from the Jaeger Peds. Orange is almost dead, so you can see our radar definitely has helped out this Soul. And the Orange is dead. So that's helpful for our team. Let's see if I can get angled and avoid these torpedoes. Can I avoid them? Repair that fire, we've gone dark. Got a Brandenburg and a Colorado over here. So yeah, we've already helped out our team there with that radar. Letting our Somme know where that's going to be. So we should be able to pick up Bravo. Got a Brindisi over there. SAP is a bit of a problem here too with the Kronstadt superstructure. The SAP tends to get hung up here. I wonder if that was HE from the Minnesota there. I want to get back and get angled to how I was. No, it's from the Boise. Alright. Let's see, I still gotta be worrisome of a Yamahari. Looks like the Brindisi smoked up there. Colorado's pushing down. Might actually shoot here at the Colorado and turn slightly. He does have 406s, so he can hurt me. But the Desperto's fairly wonk. There's the Yamahari. Might look back here towards the Minnesota, and there you go. There's a fairly nice chunk into the Colorado. Brandenburg's going to be in my range too. Our knee spec gets depth struck by the Minnesota. You can see the velocity on these guns too. As I mentioned, it's fairly point and click. Two ricochets there. That's unfortunate. The Brandenburg did angle towards me. Leon's gonna have an interesting time. I need to potentially help him out. I'm gonna angle back and around. Our Gneisenau is getting worked here. That's a really ambitious push there by the Gneisenau. I'm not sure why he's doing that. It's kind of just throwing his boat away. That was not ideal.
Capture that area.
Another 6K salvo into the Brandenburg. Oh, we have 900. I've got to worry about the Minnesota guns here. As well as Yamahari. He's proven he wants to just shoot the bejesus out of me. Minnesota's cutting out. Some SAP that's hurting. And DC is backing up in front of me. It's not wise. Let's see if we can get our guns around. He's going to move forward now. A nice chunk out of the Brindisi. Our Somme got way too aggressive there. More hits there. Alright, we're down 2 ships, but they're down 2 DDs. So that's not ideal for them. Our Leia Ventura here is kind of YOLOing this Colorado. And our Leon is going right in for the Jaeger, unfortunately. Colorado burnt DCP. I'm actually going to switch to HE here there. And Yamahari was waiting for me. That's cute, dude. You get another heal off here. Who's dead? Good job, Leia Ventura. Actually stayed alive there.
Good game, everyone.
Fortunately, I'm not going to be able to go dark here with the Jaeger there. Let's see if he's pushed up. Yamahari, these guys had it out for me the whole time there. Get the Jaeger lit there. Hopefully I can kind of stay angled here and not eat too much damage. There we go. Get to see proper angling there. And our radar is kind of keeping that Jaeger lit for our Leia Ventura. So he's working over the Jaeger now. Desperto's a bit wonk there. Gotta look out for the Minnesota. I'm gonna try to cut it around now. Yamahari's not looking at me anymore. The inventory goes down, but he did do some work on the Jaeger. So that's helpful. Let's switch to HE now on the Yamahari since he's bow on there. This is where that gun feeder comes into play. Soda's turned down now. Desperto was a little wonky there. That's okay. Shoot at the Minnesota. As our Leon's doing very well now. One pen into the Minnesota there. Got this Dookie York coming back here too. I'm actually probably going to be getting close to radar range on that Jaeger as well. Maybe I just AP through the superstructure sensing that fire. I think that's the hot technology. We do. There we go. 8.1k into the Yamahari. Got our payback on him. Let's see if we can pick up the kill here. Leon gets it. Alright, that's cool. Duke York's there. I got 10 seconds on my radar. Some actually lived through that, so good on him, but now he's going to have a bit of a hard time here with the Duke York. Duke York's turning, we'll aim right about there. There's the Jaeger. Switching to HE with the gun feeder. I missed the Duke of York. This guy's gonna pede me. There we go, no more Jaeger.
Enemy destroyer foundered.
So we did our part. Not too worried about Dookie York guns here with my armor layout. And Brandenburg might have a hard time aiming at me over that island. There's another nice chunk there. And I think our team's doing okay. So I'll have to repair that. Another nice salvo there. I'm gonna shoot this guy because he was talking shit in chat. So we'll shoot at him. Nobody likes that, right? Maybe he does. Maybe he likes his team losing too, but he could still win it. I gotta work over these two battleships. Gotta worry about my angling. Brandenburg still could hurt me here. Leon's shooting the Duke of York, so I'm gonna shoot the Brandenburg. Still, if you guys notice, trying to keep my angling here. We got Dumpster. He's actually giving me a bit more of an angle, so I'm going to shoot the Duke of York now too. I think he's a bit of more of a threat for our Leon now. Just kind of hoping. There's my Confederate. Turning. Our teammate picks up the kill on the Duke of York. I do.
The ship is on fire. Anti-aircraft gun crews are on full alert. Our victory is in sight.
Cool. Hopefully between myself and the Alabama, we'll be able to pick up the kill here on the Brandenburg, as I'm going to push into the cap here as well. Team's done fairly well. I think that's going to be about a good enough angle there for me on the Brandenburg. And slightly I'm going to slow and turn as well.
Anti-aircraft gun crews are on normal alert.
There you go. Should be able to get this kill too. Let's see if I can get any additional damage. There you go. Just solid Kronstadt gameplay. Nothing too crazy, but enough to help out our teammates. Potentially pick up a W here too. Couple cruisers left over there. Oh, very nice. Colorado with a dev strike on a Brindisi. Nicely done, Colorado. Alright, we'll take that. And he picks up the kill. Dude, well done in the Colorado. Gonna give him a count. Well done to the Colorado. And we pick up an assisted cap here. Not bad. Not bad for live on YouTube there. I think we got a good chance to showcase everything on the Kronstadt there as well, as to why I feel it's, you know, still balanced. Nothing crazy, played it right. That's good for a second class with a high cal and a dreadnought there. Yeah, our Colorado played lights out. Very, very nicely done to the Colorado. So that's good for second on the team. We'll take that. But yeah, Kronstadt's still just a balanced boat, and just balanced from a holistic standpoint. And I really feel like this was a good time to show off something like the Kronstadt. Obviously, you guys can still play Kronstadt here at tier 11, utilizing it a little bit differently. I was able to, you know, play in a manner where my radar was effective to help out my DDs and help our team secure when they're pretty early on there. But yeah, just a boat I wanted to talk about because I know personally from having been one of the testers for the Kronstadt, knowing all the different iterations that the Kronstadt and like the Stalingrad went through, and just to make them holistic, balanced boats, as opposed to kind of how the game is now, where we're balancing gimmicks, and now you're seeing those gimmicks get nerfed. I feel like today was a really, really good time to showcase this boat, and then potentially talk about what they should be doing moving forward to kind of get back to this, and maybe also what they could be doing at tier 7 to try to help out tier 7. So I hope you guys appreciated this, and I feel like today with the announcements of the nerfs coming out here just last night is a good opportunity to discuss how we could be looking at some of of Warship's past to help make the present a little bit better. So hope you guys appreciate that. I'll be live streaming tonight. Thank you guys all for the support recently here on YouTube. Hope everyone has a good rest of your day and a good weekend. If I don't see you again, I might make another video, but I will catch you all later. See you guys.